This is Kate Baconsale. You're listening to Baconsale.
Coming this summer to a theater near you. 3 men, 16 categories, hundreds of choices. Watch as Kent and Joel stress and squirm over decisions that, in the long run, don't really matter. Yet they'll never quite recover from this episode of Baconsale.
Wow.
Good timed.
I've never found you more attractive than I do right now, Joel.
Welcome to Baconsale. I'm Joel.
I'm Kent.
And Jacob. Hello, Joel.
That voice. Hello, Joel.
Like
Thank you for that
the
opener.
first time.
I need to go. I gotta call my young men's leader.
Interesting.
But yes, we'd like to thank you. We'd like to welcome you, first of all, to the show. And then thank you for listening to our last episode, our Game of Thrones introduction after the series had ended.
I actually thought we did a great job as far, I mean, just because it's Baconsale, but as far as not spoiling the entire show.
Not spoiling and keeping it very family friendly.
Yeah. Also, thank you for the feedback, everyone. There were many, I would say about half the comments that were like, I've either seen it or I've watched a few seasons and I may get back into it. And some people are like, content-wise, I just can't. And I totally get it.
Yeah. Well, and one of my favorite comments was actually from Matt Smudro. Matts! He said, honestly, I wish I didn't listen to this podcast. Now I actually want to watch Game of Thrones. Sounds like something up my alley.
Yeah.
And I was like, I get it.
It worked.
I get it.
Matt's like my new favorite.
But yeah, like we said, there's different ways of watching it depending on what your level is. So, give it a listen if you want to. And you can get the introduction without getting any spoilers. And we keep it family friendly. So
exactly.
If you avoided last episode, go back and give it a listen. You may end up like Matt's.
Good.
Unless you don't want to, then avoid it.
And Matt's is my favorite, so be like Matt's. All right, so...
But that's not what we're talking about today. Yeah. What are we talking about today, Jacob?
It's interesting. We don't have anything else to discuss. We can get right into this.
Oh, it feels relaxing.
Ooh. I want a song. Can you just make up a song on the spot?
Matt's.
No, a new one.
Mama.
No. Okay. Quick story that we'll jump into. I apologize.
Yeah.
But so I practice those songs at home multiple times before I come in here because I want to make sure I get the timing right. I want to make sure I get the syllables right. I want it to sound good. So I worked on them a lot at home. And my 3-year-old, my 5-year-old, he was around saying Matt's. We already talked about that.
Yeah.
But my 3-year-old, this past weekend, was walking around going, no, can't, thank you. No, we can't, thank you. No, we can't, thank you. No, which was the...
Singing Thank You, Nicole, the Nine
Thank
Inch
You,
Nails
Nicole,
version?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, my word.
I was like, I didn't know what she was saying. And I was like, what are you saying? Then she started singing. I'm like, oh, of all the songs, that's the one you picked up on.
You do realize when he is like 14 years old and enters his like goth phase?
This is my daughter.
She will blame you.
Yeah,
as she joins stage crew and be like, this is a song my dad used to sing to me.
She just wears Nine Inch Nails t-shirts.
Yeah.
The problem is I have this mashup song where it's Call Me Maybe music, but the lyrics of Head Like a Hole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
It's a good one,
It's a great mashup, but I play it way too much around the house. And my kids, I think, are starting to pick up on that the lyrics are kind of darker.
Just a little bit.
It sounds so happy.
This is Joel, everyone.
Yeah. Dark and happy.
All right, but Jake, what are we really talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about the history of summer blockbusters, and we're going to have a whole category.
History.
It might as well be because it's a category show, so we're covering all
it's
summer
an
blockbusters.
all-encompassing summer blockbuster
Yes.
I cannot
show.
I cannot tell you how stressful this show was for me because hundreds of movies. I looked up the stats, and there are like 700 to 800 movies released annually, and that's not including like Bollywood films. That's like theatrically released,
Guys,
Hollywood films.
when are we going to do our Bollywood show?
Wait, what's happening?
We need a Bollywood show.
We do?
Yeah. We can do like the top Bollywood movies, and you guys need to watch at least 200 of them, though, just to make sure
now.
you
Don't
have
give the listener
right.
I think 200 were
ideas.
just released yesterday. But
It's funny you say there's that many movies, and I probably see about 100 films per year.
wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of. It's too many, honestly.
Right.
I like how we're going to pick from about 25 summer blockbusters on this show.
Well, so the summer blockbusters,
16.
Well, 16, but the same 25.
Kent and I had to pick a winner for each one of our 16 categories, and it was difficult because we had to put parameters on it. First of all, we had to say it had to be released from May to August.
This is no Jacob rules, by the way.
Yes, we went
Very
back
strict.
yeah, so May to August is what's considered summer, and they also had to be a financial success because they had to be a blockbuster.
In fact, if I may define blockbuster for you,
Let's hear it.
a defunct video store.
Yeah, exactly.
Mansplain this to me.
Mansplain it to you?
Yeah.
You probably know it if you saw it. It's a thing of great power or size. In particular, a movie, book, or other product that is a great commercial success.
So commercial success had to be successful.
Yeah, I would say at least double its budget back and sometimes much, much more.
and there's only one where I kind of fudged on that.
Oh,
but it's because that was the intent of the category.
And so it has to be
Jacob
a blockbuster
Rolls.
or tentpole.
Jacob
Yeah.
Rolls.
Oh,
Like, I'm not saying it even needs a sequel. It needs to be this big event that maybe changed the way action movies were seen, for example.
Well, or it just to me it was
Or just
like
made a
if it
crap ton
had
of
a
money.
lot of if it had a lot of hype surrounding it.
Yeah.
like it was built up as the summer movie blockbuster, but didn't quite reach it.
Are blockbusters
That's a different show.
Are flops considered blockbusters though?
No, well, kind of.
No,
Well,
they have to be
we'll get-
commercial successes. You just said that.
They're commercially successful, but not as successful as maybe they want to be.
Okay.
Okay,
Are you guys ready to start?
Yeah.
let's do it.
That's a good background. Okay. So you guys said May to August, right?
Yes.
Starting in 1970s.
1975, actually.
1975 is kind of when the blockbuster began with Steven Spielberg and Jaws. That's kind of what kicked it off, and then of course you got
Because back then summertime was the dead time for movies.
Yes.
yeah,
Right?
and so
Yeah.
but then they start. That's when it all started. Is kind of like no, we can really prop these up as like the thing to do in the summertime, and then now it's a thing. Like most of the biggest movies of the year are released in the summertime.
And one thing to remember as Joel and I are suffering through our answers is, of course, we're going to duplicate we're going to have a lot of repeat answers amongst each other, but we're not going to duplicate our answers throughout the categories.
Yes, meaning if we already used Jaws as an example, like
Yes.
the first one. If we use Jaws once as an answer to a category, we cannot use it again.
That's it.
And we'd like to apologize for using the primary answers.
We did feel like that. We felt like because we did our summer blockbuster Mount Rushmore of summer movies last year, and I found myself repeating a lot of answers. And I said, Ken, I feel like I'm giving the primary answers where it's like Jaws, Star Wars,
Prey.
Regis of Theirs. Yeah.
But the reality is, there's only a few of these, right?
Whoa, you'd be surprised.
Okay, well,
Like,
we'll see.
So let's begin.
Ken gave me a list, and it was both helpful and harmful because it opened up so many possibilities, but it opened up so many possibilities.
Okay.
I think he's going hipster.
I
on
like this. I like this.
No, not as much. I'm
Okay.
mainstream, you know that.
First category, gentlemen. What is the first blockbuster you remember seeing in the theater?
I'll go first because I'm older.
By
saw
how
it
much?
first. About a year.
Okay.
So I wanted to bring this up because I've seen a bunch of these movies that were like, 81, 82, 83, 84, like that kind of stuff.
At home, eventually on VHS.
But I can't remember if I saw it in the theaters or if I saw it at home, but I'm assuming for a while there, it definitely was at home because my parents weren't taking
yeah,
me
but you
there.
have a fuzzy memory. You feel like you saw it in the theater.
Yeah, but it's weird how like the first memory I have of a movie theater isn't a blockbuster. It was just, another movie.
Yeah.
So I tried to pin it down to the first movie I remember seeing, or at least I think I remember seeing, how sometimes that happens, in the movie theaters that was a blockbuster movie. And that was 1989's Batman. This is one I was probably about 9 years old. And I actually texted my dad and I'm like, did you take me to that? Because I'm pretty sure as a 9-year-old kid, I didn't go to see that by myself. And he was like, well, maybe. And I was like, oh, okay.
Or maybe you went by yourself.
I just gave you bus money and you just went on your own with your buddy. And
June. Came out in June of 2000.
Gave you a nickel and sent you to the cinema.
And this is like the one where, okay, so budget was $35 million. It made $411 million. So this,
lot of money.
This got its budget back. And this was the kind of the movie, granted we had Superman in the late 70s, early 80s, and then it kind of died down. And then this movie kicked off again that superhero movies could be taken seriously. They could be awesome. And I just wanted to bring up a couple fun facts about this. For example, Burton actually approached Pierce Brosnan to be Batman, but Pierce turned it down, saying he had no interest in a comic book character. He also offered Ray Liotta a role, and Ray Liotta turned it down. And he has since kind of regretted that.
well, he's in B movie and he had his own brand of honey in that movie.
Yeah, well, it's funny because like you think of Michael Keaton in that role, and people accept him now as Batman. Like when he says "I'm Batman" to people,
Yes.
it gets a cheer. Back then, people freaked out, and
he's a comedic actor.
They had 50,000 protest letters sent to the Warner Brothers.
Wait. This petition thing is not new to 2019.
Apparently not, because they wrote letters and sent 50,000 letters, and it was about as effective as a Change.com petition.
Change.org, control.
Yeah, sure.
Take it more seriously, please.
Yeah.
Also, for the Joker, people that were considered were Tim Curry, David Bowie, John Lithgow. John Lithgow actually auditioned.
Honestly, any one of those would have been a great Joker.
It would have been kind of
they
interesting.
sound fine, yeah.
But John Lithgow actually tried to talk Tim Burton out of casting him because he didn't really get the role and he didn't think it was such a big deal.
Wow. Well, remember at the time you had Superman 1 and 2, and I think they made 3 by this point.
I think 4 even came out before 89.
Yeah, and so
didn't
3
it?
and 4 were bombs, but there was only Superman to go off of.
Yeah.
And so Batman needed to be taken seriously, and then it was. But people probably didn't expect this.
Well, and the last Batman movie was the 60s Batman, and
Yeah.
Batman the movie, which had shark repellent.
Yeah.
That kind of movie. It was hilarious
Love
and
it.
dumb. But this movie, I remember going to see it, and I remember thinking it was pretty dark, but really liking it. And like I was obsessed for a while there. I wanted the toys,
you
I
would
wanted the
dance with
posters.
the devil in the pale moonlight.
I quoted that line so many times.
Absolutely.
I've reenacted the movie, but Batman is the first one I think I remember seeing in the theaters. So that's my blockbuster.
That's fantastic. Mine was the same year. It's probably within a month of that one. So I was 8 years old, and it was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Great choice. That was another one I was looking at.
Yeah, so I had seen Raiders of the Lost Ark a few times, and I actually, even at a young age, I knew how special that movie was. That you don't, and I'm going to talk about kind of the Indiana Jones series, because this is the only time I'll be using Indiana Jones at all. But you don't see the character for the first couple minutes of the movie. Like, it has to introduce him in the coolest way. But I watched Temple of Doom more than I did Raiders of the Lost Ark, because that was kind of the Saturday morning movie.
Yeah. What a Saturday morning watching people rip out each other's hearts.
Kalima. But then Last Crusade was one that I actually anticipated, being 8 years old, going, I need to see this movie. And I was so excited to see this kind of event
Ilsa?
at the theater. And yes, Ilsa. In fact, this movie works because it takes a lot of the themes, like obviously the religious themes and the romance themes from the other movies, and makes them more complex. Like, actually, the romance angle in this movie backfires against Indy, and it never really did before. Like this, in the fact that, you know, his dad is in this movie, and that Sean Connery is his dad.
That pairing of Sean Connery and Harrison Ford was a stroke of genius.
It really
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
This was made for $48 million, made $474 million.
Did quite well.
And also, as like a kid watching this movie, like he uses his like archaeology skills to solve problems in this movie. You get more Sala, you get more Marcus, and also at the beginning, because as
You
a
get a
kid,
less disturbing face melting.
yes, absolutely, but you get to see young Indiana Jones, and as a kid, you're like, I could be that guy.
Yeah.
You know, as Harrison Ford, he's unapproachable. He is one of a kind, but you see young Indiana Jones, and he is told by the man in the hat, you lost today, kid, but that doesn't mean you have to like it. And I really took that to heart. I was like, yeah, I may fail, but that's okay.
Well, the funny thing about that too is they did the, I don't want to say prequel, but like showing how he came to be right, because it shows how he got the scar on his chin, how he got his hat.
Perfect. It was a proper amount of exposition, even though it was really forced.
Exactly, because you get the ones like Solo where it's like, oh, you're traveling alone, I'm going to call you Solo. And we're like, we didn't need to know that.
Right.
We didn't need a whole movie just to see where the dice came from or whatever. But Indiana Jones Last Crusade did it so well.
Isn't it crazy that that series ended in 1989? Like, because I'm not counting Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, yeah.
But this great trilogy ended so long ago.
Aren't they planning another one too?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Although Harrison Ford has stated that after he's dead, he says like no one can
they need
play.
to cancel the character entirely. But I do want to see the Mutt Williams franchise, like Shia LaBeouf.
Indiana Mutt.
So this started it all for me. I mean, I did see a few movies before then. They're mostly Disney ones, like you, Joel. But this one was the big movie for me.
Yeah.
Jake, do you remember first one? Did you guys have a theater in Missouri?
You guys are going to be a little surprised because I was much older. Jurassic Park is the first one I remember. That was a
okay. So you were what,
blockbuster.
probably 11 years old?
Yeah, 12, something like
Yeah, it
that.
came out in 93, so
93, so yeah. 11. I think I saw, what year did Aladdin come out?
94?
94? Okay.
No, that's
no, that was
Lion
Lion King. 92, I think it was
92.
Aladdin.
92, okay. Because I remember seeing Aladdin. That's basically the first one I remember seeing in a theater.
Except I think that was a winter release.
Except
Yes.
that wasn't summer. I can't remember for sure. But yeah, Jurassic Park, I remember everyone's like, I have to go see this. Big dinosaurs, and they look really real. I'm like, okay. And I went in, I'm like, that was cool. And that was pretty much it.
That's such a Jake reaction.
I'm like, that was kind of scary
Can I
sometimes.
hunt it?
Huh.
Can I kill it?
It has no use for me.
Clever girl.
You guys ready for next category?
Yes, sir.
Best soundtrack. What blockbuster had the best soundtrack?
The impossible category, because this was more of a process of elimination that led to this based on my other choices.
Because, if, for example, if we wanted to use Star Wars, John Williams'
For every
amazing
category.
score for this one,
Yeah.
we couldn't use it ever again. Or John Williams' amazing score in Jurassic Park, or John Williams' amazing score in Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Like it was hard to pick one for this one because there were so many other categories they could have worked in.
I went with the soundtrack that is more recent, and by that I mean 16 years ago, one that gets your blood pumping. You feel like you can fight Godzilla with this
16
soundtrack.
years ago, so it's Hulk.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
One of your favorite trilogies of all time.
That first movie was amazing.
The only movie.
The only movie in that series.
There's not 5 of them.
So interesting with this one. So there was like a long run because there was apparently a few directors for this movie, and they ended up with Gore Verbinski,
right?
And then they were going to get Alan Silvestri to compose this movie, and then there was just a falling out. So then they're like, Hans Zimmer is our guy, and Hans Zimmer is great, and he said, "Nope, I'm doing The Last Samurai. I have prior obligations, but I'll help." So he hired this guy named Klaus Badelt.
Yeah, a lot of people think that Pirates of the Caribbean is a Hans Zimmer score, but it's actually Klaus Badelt.
Yes, Klaus Badelt. He's done The Scorpion King 2, Catwoman, and Starship Troopers 3.
Man, that is quite the
And
resume.
Pirates of the Caribbean, the themes in this movie.
But the problem is, Kent, is that it's pretty obvious that probably Hans Zimmer wrote the score and then handed it off to Klaus to kind of actually finish it up.
It's possible, but Hans Zimmer's even said like how little work he did in this.
If you listen to Gladiator and then you listen to Pirates of the
That's
Caribbean,
very true. I think Klaus was
very
like,
similar.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, copy my homework, but make it look like you didn't copy.
Exactly.
So regardless, I mean, it's Hans Zimmer, and he's like my favorite composer. I feel like Klaus maybe sold his soul to the devil for this one because he's also never really attained that kind of success after that. But Pirates, it was made for $140 million and made $654 million, and it's just kept climbing since then. As far as these sequels, if there were any,
Right.
Yes.
We're unsure if there aren't any.
right? So, what is your soundtrack of choice, Joel?
So I went a little bit opposite because, as Kent and I have discussed before, soundtracks versus scores.
Yes.
I have the hardest time picking a score, so I just went with a soundtrack. And there were so many I could choose from. Like, I remember I was just thinking, like, I could pick one from Fletch where it's like completely campy and dumb, but to me it resonates.
Yeah.
It's very synthesized.
You hear it and you are put back in the movie immediately.
Exactly. Or even just that era. And then Top Gun is another one where I was like, I could totally choose Top Gun because, I mean, Highway to the Danger Zone, or even just
Take My Breath Away.
Faltermeyer's the Top Gun score. Stuff like great. But I went completely different. I went with Forrest Gump.
Oh, so the full-on double album soundtrack.
For that double album, I swear everyone owned that. In fact, it sold 12 million copies, that soundtrack, and is one of the top-selling albums in the United States. But it features songs by, I'm trying to look right here, Elvis Presley, the Beach Boys, Joan Baez, Aretha Franklin, The Doors, Mamas and the Papas, Simon & Garfunkel, Willie Nelson, Leonard Skinner.
I mean, did anyone listen or watch that movie and didn't think, wow, this soundtrack is really good? Like,
Yeah.
this is a cool compilation.
Well, and the cool thing about it is this kind of, it's a sampler platter of all the songs to the ages,
Right.
and you can watch the songs progress. And also, they're all American artists. Apparently, that was Robert Zemeckis' thing, where he said, "I only want American artists because that's the only thing."
He's a nationalist.
That's what Forrest Gump.
Yeah, we get it.
It's fine. A little patriot.
That's what he said. Forrest Gump wouldn't buy anything but American. And then, on top of that, so you have this amazing sampler platter of rock songs and folk songs,
And soul
from the era.
songs, yeah.
But then you also get the amazing score, which is also on the album by Alan Silvestri, and you get the Forrest Gump thing, a Forrest Gump thing with the beautiful feather floating on the air. I really enjoy this soundtrack, and the budget for Forrest Gump, $55 million. It made $677 million.
Wow,
it did quite well. And I just think this soundtrack is one of the best ones out there. And even though I have referenced it before, we did Soundtrack and Feels, and I brought it up then, I'm bringing it up again because, dang, that's a good soundtrack. It's right up there with the Batman soundtrack.
No, do not put those two together.
The soundtrack is so bad.
Can you sing Bat Dance for me?
Bat Dance!
Stop. Please stop.
I want some more, actually. So, all right, next category. What blockbuster had the best lead actress?
Another very difficult category.
Very subjective category.
Yeah.
Well, because I sat there debating whether I wanted to base it on one solid performance or a multiple, like someone who's always in a summer blockbuster, like Cameron Diaz, for example. She had a couple of big
She's the
hits.
it girl of summer.
Like for a while there, like she was in The Mask, she was in Something About Mary, she was in
Charlie's Angels.
There was another one that I was just thinking of, but so there's a bunch that I thought I could do, but I ended up picking one character, one performance. It's a little unorthodox, but I think Kent is going to approve. I chose Charlize Theron from Mad Max Fury Road. Because I was looking at...
That's not unorthodox. That seems like a pretty top-tier choice.
Well, it's mostly because it's only 2015. It feels a little recent. But Furiosa, Charlize Theron plays a character called Furiosa, and this movie's all about this a post-apocalyptic world in which people are just trying to survive in giant automobiles. That sounds weird, but she plays this character who's missing an arm, who's got a shaved head. She's dirty, she's grimy, but she's an amazing character because she's smart, but she makes mistakes. she's tough, but she's vulnerable. She's a loner, but she also appreciates like teamwork. She really did kind of seem like this kind of all-together character, and she became iconic as soon as she was on the screen. I've heard people cosplay as her sometimes.
Absolutely.
But
she's the lead character. This is her story.
Oh, totally. Like it's called Mad Max Fury Road, but Tom Hardy's a side character. Furiosa is where it's at. And also, if you want to talk about other summer blockbuster performances, Charlize Theron has also been in The Italian Job, Hancock, Snow White and the Huntsman, Kubo and the Two Strings, Fate of the Furious. So she's had her share of summery hits.
Yeah. But
I feel like she's the best lead actress.
Great choice.
In summer blockbusters.
Okay, I thought you were going to go with my main choice, and so I came up with the secondary.
Oh, really?
Should I not even tease the secondary?
You could tease it.
Demi Moore and Ghost, just because I wanted to say Ghost. Did you know Ghost made over $500 million?
It was one of those, everyone knew Ghost. Everyone talked about Ghost.
Yeah, it was a phenomenon.
But I'm going to go with the performance that I actually really care about, and that's Linda Hamilton in T2 Judgment Day.
That was my honorary mention.
Okay, good.
That's a great choice.
Because this role, I mean, you see her in the first movie with terrible hair, and she plays kind of this victim that's being chased the whole time.
Oh yeah, it's a horror movie, and she is the final girl. Yeah.
And she ends up being a strong character, but she needs a lot of help. But then you get to T2, and not only is she like just buff and she's unstoppable, there's a lot of vulnerability in the role, and she becomes the protector.
Yeah,
she is the one that when everyone's really confident with Arnold's T800 in that one, I think it's T800, right?
I'm pretty sure. Right.
We'll look at the model later. But she is the one that still says there's danger out there. This thing can still come after us and take you down. And so she is such a strong character. Just
T800, you're good.
Yes, I passed the test.
Well done.
And so T2 Judgment Day was made for $102 million and made $520 million.
Good job, James Cameron.
Yeah, she's going to be in the sequel.
Remember when James Cameron made movies?
I know.
He's going to again.
10 years ago. It's been 10 years, Joel.
Did you guys know that Terminator Dark Fate, it's the third reattempt? Yeah, it's the third attempt to try to kickstart this series again.
It's never... That thing is...
This is a true sequel.
Terminator was a phenomenon, a horror movie phenomenon.
Yes.
Terminator 2 was an action movie phenomenon. Yes. Every other Terminator that's come since then has a pale comparison to any of those.
It's just been sci-fi vanilla since then.
Yeah.
That was my band's name in college.
Oh, yeah?
Sci-fi vanilla.
What kind of music?
It was actually just me with a bongo.
It makes sense.
So it wasn't really your band's
Did you ever
name.
actually come out with an album?
Well, I mean, self-release.
Oh, okay. We need to hear that someday.
Yeah, we do. All right, next category is, what is the blockbuster that you wish you could have seen in theaters?
I loved this category.
Star Wars. 1977.
You chose Star Wars for this one?
Yeah, this is Star Wars.
Wow.
This predated my birth, obviously, and this movie...
You didn't see it when
if you really cared, you would have been there.
You
I saw the special edition.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did see the special edition. Sorry about peeking there. But
I liked it.
This came out...
You can't just go through puberty.
He was just really surprised.
This came out on my birth... Well, 4 years to my birthday. It's May 25th is my birthday of 1977. And I would like to be there for the zeitgeist of this movie changing cinema altogether. Mm-hmm. This was only made for $11 million. It made $775 million. That's 70s money.
And that's,
right there.
70 money. So yeah, it is one of the highest grossing movies of all time. Adjusted for inflation.
But think about that. There were, you couldn't pre-order your tickets. You waited in line for probably, I wonder how long this was in theaters, maybe at least 6 months
I don't know.
of this movie just getting repeat business and you taking your friends and saying, hey, sci-fi is pretty cool. And you got to see this movie with me. It really did change action movies, sci-fi movies. And well, it's a space opera western, I guess, if that's the appropriate genre.
Yeah.
But this is the one I wish I could have seen first weekend with people just to capture that moment.
And just see kind of how people reacted to this weird... Because, I mean, you had space movies in the 50s and 60s, but they were corny and cheesy. And this one, yes, it is kind of corny and kind of cheesy. But it really... I wish I could have been there, too, just to kind of see...
But it just has magic
how the people react.
Yeah. Because I don't even think it's the strongest movie anymore. But it is great as like a singular hero's journey before you even knew there were sequels.
Yeah.
Like such a fun movie.
Yeah. It's a great choice. I can't believe you pulled the ripcord that early in Star Wars, though.
I had to. Because I couldn't think about it anymore. I'm like, no.
One of the ones I was actually thinking about, but I did end up seeing it, was Raiders of the Lost Ark. But I got to see that in a theater in Ogden, at the Egyptian Theater, this old theater. They did a special showing of it. It was great to see it on the big screen. But the one I chose was Ghostbusters.
Okay.
I would have loved to see Ghostbusters back in 1984 when it came out. I was only 4 years old, so that wasn't going to happen. But I've often said that movies that you want to see in groups are horror movies and comedies, because you want to scream and laugh with groups. It makes it much more enjoyable when you're like all doing it together and all reacting together.
Yeah.
And I feel like Ghostbusters is it's horror comedy is a hard mix. A hard solution to mix, but they did it so well where there are parts where it's genuinely terrifying, like when
The librarian.
the librarian at the very beginning,
Yeah.
or when Dana's being attacked on the chair. And then you get the amazing comedy in the movie as well. And this one, I just feel like it was such a well done movie and such a cultural phenomenon. I'd love to have been there for one of those first screenings and then been able to walk out and be like, you guys, you got to see this movie.
Yeah.
It's amazing. By the way, budget was $30 million and it made $295 million, so almost 10 times its budget.
Yeah, I'm surprised it was only that amount though.
It's early 80s money.
Yeah.
One odd fact I want to bring up about it real quick.
Yeah.
Is the Ecto 1 siren, the meow.
Of course.
I want to confirm this on multiple places, but I couldn't find like an audio confirmation. But they're saying the siren sound is a recording of a leopard snarl cut and played backwards.
I love that.
That's so bizarre.
Is that true though?
So random.
I tried to find an audio version of it, but I found multiple sources that said that.
The only way to do this is to record it, then play it backwards.
Oh, you mean like on
That's the only way not to Google
on our
it.
conspiracy theory show?
yeah.
If you haven't, go back and cut that.
I think it'd be Indiana Jones for me on that. That would have been a cool one.
The first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, next category is the surprise hit for you, which is
pH balanced for you.
For you.
yeah,
This
which
was
is the one that you're like, okay, I never saw this coming, but I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was an odd choice for me, but when I saw it on the list, that huge list of summer blockbusters, it jumped out to me, and I said, I got to go with this
How old
one.
were you?
I was 13. 12 to 13. No, I was 13 when this came out, 'cause it was a summer blockbuster. I chose The Fugitive.
Wow. Okay.
Because
I hadn't thought about that one.
I'm 13 years old. I've never seen the TV show The Fugitive that the movie was based on. I really didn't have any concept of what this movie was going to be about. And I walked out of that movie loving the film that I just saw. I think my friends and I actually went to go see it a couple times in the theaters, and we were reenacting scenes. We were quoting lines. This was one of those movies. And the best part about this movie, it still holds up. If you watch it now, you're like, that's a good movie.
It's very suspenseful.
$44 million budget, and it made $368 million.
When you say you'd reenact it, what do you mean?
I mean,
Jump down the waterfall.
You go in a sewer pipe.
That's
and
exactly right. There was a construction site. They were building, I think, a church nearby, and there was a huge pile. And we did that thing where it's like,
I believe
I didn't
you.
kill my wife. I don't care. And then we jump off the
Is that where you got
giant
that
dirt
giant
pile.
scar from?
Yeah, actually, it's from the dirt pile. Me and Tommy Lee
I
Jones.
always wondered, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a weird choice, and it's funny because like the director Andrew Davis, other movies
What has he done?
He did like Under Siege and Holes and The Fugitive, and I'm like, these are
random.
really,
but all
kind of
really
random sampling.
solid.
Yeah.
And then you get Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford together, great combination. The sequel was very disappointing.
Yeah, with Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, U.S. Marshals, that was terrible.
Yeah.
But The Fugitive, if you haven't seen it in a while, go see it because it might be a surprise hit again for you.
I would
Okay.
venture to say that maybe a lot of people haven't seen The Fugitive because it almost seems like one of
Yeah,
those
that's
sleepy
true.
crime
Yeah.
thrillers of the 90s.
Yeah. Kent, what'd you pick?
So I was 30 years old when I found this one.
Oh, okay.
So it's from 2011, it's Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I mean, I've talked about this series quite a bit on this show.
You have.
The budget was $93 million. It made $481 million. All
right.
Let me tell you a little bit of the background about why I didn't care about this. The trailers were terrible.
Yeah, the trailers were not good.
Yeah, they didn't really tease goodness. There was like, I remember there was like the guy who was clearly the villain being surrounded by a bunch of apes.
And just to
then they
confirm-
took down a helicopter at one point.
Just to confirm, Rise of the Planet of the Apes is the first one of the reboot series.
Yes. And I'm not talking Planet of the Apes, the Tim Burton one from 2001.
Well, no one really does.
This is, yeah. But also, I didn't like James Franco, never really have, and he was the star of this movie. Also, the studio, this is right when I became a film critic. And the studio said, hey, critics, we're going to have you watch this, but like 2 days before this comes out. So like they didn't let anyone nationally or anything see this movie. So there was no score or anything. And it came out in August. And that is the dog days of summer. Generally no good movies. I saw this one double feature with The Change Up that has Jason Bateman and Ryan Reynolds. And I was like, The Change Up's going to be really funny. I saw that one. I was like, oh, that was really, really terrible. I hate that movie. Oh, I have to go to a Planet of the Apes movie now? And I walked out of Planet of the Apes blown away.
So it was good by comparison, is what you're saying.
No, it was amazing. I own this movie on Blu-ray.
The only thing we have to do now, Joel, we have the solution. This is the recipe.
Show me
you
really
watch the
crappy
change up.
movie. Yeah, show me the change up.
and then you watch something else, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's watch it. Let's do a double feature tonight.
We could do the change up and then like Ant-Man and the Wasp 2.
Yeah, or Aladdin. We'll watch Aladdin.
Oh, Aladdin. I'll be really
new Aladdin.
positive.
Yeah.
But no, like what they did for special effects in this movie alone, I mean, it feels like a kind of a sleepy summer blockbuster because it's not straight up action, but as far as the technical marvel and what they pulled off, and honestly, not really focusing that much on James Franco in the movie.
That's the secret?
That might be the secret. And Frida Pinto in your movie doesn't hurt whatsoever. So I love this movie. I love this series, and I expected to hate it or be apathetic, and I was blown away by it.
I got to add mine, even though it's going to come up later for you guys probably, is The Matrix, because I had zero expectation with that movie.
Technically doesn't fit, Jacob.
Oh, that doesn't fit?
I love you
Technically
for
doesn't.
it. It was
Okay.
huge in the summer of 1999.
But I do make reference to it later on.
Okay,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
But
But this is good now because they should get a shout out, honestly.
No, The Matrix surprised everyone.
Yeah.
That deserves its own show, honestly.
It does. It does.
Save it for a Matrix show.
Just the opening scene
The one movie. Yeah.
The one movie.
where she like runs along the sides of the
yeah.
walls, and I'm like, what
Yeah.
am I watching?
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, it was just...
It's where he takes the pill.
All right, here's the next category. What was the biggest letdown? What was the summer blockbuster you knew was going to be amazing and then is?
I changed my answer on this one about 15 times.
Me too.
You did?
I
Okay.
kept flip-flopping back and forth.
Because I went for a more recent movie originally, like, oh yeah, I really hated that movie. And I'm like, well, that's when I was already kind of cynical. What about it when I was younger? And I liked movies a lot, and I had a lot of hopes. And generally, I have to go with I have to go with the sequel, and this isn't even my worst sequel, but this was such a letdown. I loved the Alien franchise. Alien and Aliens were just two of these iconic movies that really...
Alien was 79. Aliens was like, what, 80?
No, Aliens was 86.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
79, 86, and then Alien 3.
Yeah.
And there's no space there. It's Alien 3. Came out in
Alien
1992.
Cubed, actually, I think is why they formatted it.
This one is directed by one of my favorite directors, David Fincher, and is a terrible movie. This one was made for $50 million and made $159. So this is the least successful of the movies I've chosen.
Wait, say that again. How much and how much?
Made for 50, made 159
so it
million.
turned profit.
Yeah, it tripled it, but still, after the success of James Cameron's Aliens and what that movie did, and you have, and I'm a big story guy, so Ripley saving Newt and Hicks.
Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, she did.
Wait.
Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Oh,
There you go.
no. Boo. No. Why does he do villain laughs after dad jokes? I don't understand. But she saved those characters, and in the opening crawl, they kill those two like heartfelt characters that you spend an entire movie following. And then it becomes a Prison Planet movie with aliens again. And I do think I need to revisit this and see what I'm missing, if anything, because Fincher does this, or maybe the studio will interfere in his movies. He's a lot like Ridley Scott that way, and then maybe he'll do a director's cut.
Yeah.
But wow, it was so dark.
And blah movie, but fun Sega game.
Was it?
Yeah. It was a fun one. You guys had to play that one if you haven't played that one. The Sega game of Alien 3. Quite
Okay,
fun.
I'll play it on my Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
I'll go back in time and...
But yeah, that one really let me down. And it came out in 92. Like, I shouldn't have been watching this movie.
Yeah, you were young. You were like 11 years old.
Dude, I was raised on horror films.
Oh, that's
you
true.
know.
That's true.
All right, so what was your biggest letdown?
So mine actually came out in 2006. The one I picked. The one I didn't pick was actually Ang Lee's Hulk, because we talked about that one before.
Yeah.
I went to the premiere I worked at Lovesac, and we were doing a premiere
It's a big deal.
screening.
Remember, that was right after Spider-Man.
Green Lovesacks, throwing out like Hulk hands, stuff like that. Everyone was
Yeah.
so excited, and by the end, everyone was asleep. Everyone hated it. People had left the theater. But the one I chose for me personally was Superman Returns, 2006. Because
So what were your expectations going in?
So I see the trailer, and I see Brandon Routh, who looks kind of like Christopher Reeve.
And you'd already seen Batman Begins the year previous.
And so then I
And
see,
you've got Bryan Singer.
and Bryan Singer was attached to it, who did X-Men and X-Men 2 and Bohemian Rhapsody. But just
Did he? He didn't really.
Kind
did
of.
he? Okay.
Sort of.
But and I don't know if you guys remember this, but in the trailer, this guy just unloads a machine gun on him. You see one bullet
In
go
the eye.
and hit Superman in the eye, and then it just falls down. And I was like, bulletproof. Like, just I love seeing that. It was so cool. And then the movie started up, and it's a really kind of a cool opening scene when he like the airplane. And
Very cool.
He
Yeah.
like holds the airplane in the baseball field, and he saves everybody. And I was like, this is gonna be great. And then it just lost its way. It really. it just turned into a dud after that. And I
Yeah.
remember walking out of the theater.
Well, it
kind
just
of,
fell into really familiar tropes, and it was Kryptonite and
well, and then,
Kryptonite Island.
I mean,
and
Kevin Spacey is Lex Luthor.
No, he's actually replaced in that movie.
Christopher Plummer.
digitally replaced.
Yes.
No, but Parker Posey, I really like Parker Posey, and she was
In other
Lex's
movies.
sidekick. And this one, she didn't do good.
Cal
Kate
Penn is in
Bosworth
this
was
movie.
a waste.
Yes.
They had the whole subplot of maybe it's Superman's kid, and then it is, and I was like, it didn't make sense even as a sequel, because it was like, well, it's a sequel, but it skips over these other movies. So when does this sequel take place?
It's like Halloween.
It was kind of
Yeah.
And this was one of the ones where I kind of fudged the numbers a bit because it was let down also financially because the budget was $223 million.
Whoa.
And it made $391 million. So technically it didn't turn a profit because
Yeah.
it didn't make double its budget back. But this is still one. It made $391 million. It was a commercial. Like commercially people went to go see it. But I think everyone kind of like me walked out going,
There's an art to this, but it's so trying to be artistic, it's boring.
yeah, it's boring. It's a boring Superman movie. And then it's like, oh, he flew away for a couple years to find himself.
He's a deadbeat dad.
And then we're coming back. It just didn't make sense to me. So
got real lazy.
yeah, Superman Returns let down, which is sad because I thought Brandon Routh was a good
He's
Superman,
a good Clark Kent.
but just put in a bad movie.
Yeah.
All right, next category is going to be the best villain from a blockbuster movie.
This is going to be our first repeat, meaning I can't repeat.
You can't have repeats.
Not my own answers, but of Kent's. I chose T-1000 from Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Great choice.
That is a great choice.
Because you get, so James Cameron, who did, listen to
was
this guy's
terrifying.
list. He's got The Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss, Titanic, True Lies, Avatar. James Cameron knows how to make big movies. And this one, speaking in particular of Robert Patrick as the T-1000, which, if you don't know, is the liquid metal Terminator, which amazing, groundbreaking effects in the early 90s that rivals some effects that are done today.
It was Academy Award winning. Right?
Budget was around $100 million, and it made $523 million, as we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I liked about Robert Patrick is that he was nice when he had to be. Like, he was like, hi, how's it going? Do you know this boy? Wow.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
he'd
yeah.
stab some guy through the head with his knife arm, and it was like, what just happened?
That was horrifying as a kid.
And
Yeah.
the part that got
Yeah.
me, one of the parts that terrified me was the part in the parking lot when he starts running after the car and he's catching up to a driving car.
Yeah.
And then he gets the hook hands and starts climbing onto the car. And I was
then
like,
the hook's still there.
Yeah, and it's like
you have to throw it away.
yeah, you can't stop him. Like, it just like they shoot him with a shotgun and it just goes through him. And so he was a terrifying villain.
You have to be a great actor, and there has to be great writing in order to make someone seem tougher than Arnold Schwarzenegger, especially
Yeah.
as the Terminator.
And-
And he pulled it off
And
amazingly.
that's exactly true, because you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger's physique versus Robert Patrick's, and Robert Patrick, he's not a big guy.
Yeah.
But you believe that he could take on the Terminator.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
What a great choice.
villain. Love it.
Nice.
All right, with my choice, why so serious?
Oh, I knew it had to be brought up at least once in this show.
It is the Joker. And
Oh, that's what you're talking about.
yeah, exactly. It's actually Meryl Streep in Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came out in March, I think.
No, that actually came out the
I thought it
same
was
time.
Dennis Hopper in Super Mario Brothers.
Waterworld, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't get
wow,
that.
Waterworld. That's another
Waterworld,
movie
yeah,
that he was in that
1996.
bombed.
So the Joker, and maybe I'm kind of cheating because I would like to say in the original Batman as well. So The Dark Knight was made for $185 million and made $1 billion.
I think you could say the Joker is a general statement for best summer blockbuster.
Yeah,
villain.
except for Suicide Squad. But yes, the Joker is. I mean, I would probably say in the history of movies, probably considered the second best villain of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, because obviously Darth Vader, people consider him to be the greatest. I already used Star Wars, but for me, because those Star Wars movies had already come out by the time I started watching movies, and I kind of understood the arc, and I probably saw Return of the Jedi more than any other Star Wars movie. The Joker is what is imposing. That constructs film villainy for me.
Well, and just the score coming in
Yeah.
behind him, like the Joker's theme, that buzzing sound.
Yeah, it's like a saw.
it's so unnerving.
And it's anarchy. It is the opposite of Batman, and the way that Heath Ledger plays that role. And even back in the day with Jack Nicholson and how everyone had those smiles on the news and everything, and that caused
creepy.
death. It was just creepy and unpredictable. And that is exactly what the Joker needs to be. And those performances just capture villainy for me.
I like it.
Yes.
I like it.
Yep. Great choices, guys. All right, next category is going to be the movie that doesn't fit the summer season.
Mine came out in 1992. I'm doing a lot of early 90s movies here
It's
because
a
I think
formative
that's really
years.
iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah, really formative. Sister Act.
I did not expect that to be brought up on this show. Wait, what? When did Sister Act come out? What month?
1992. I believe it was May. We could double check on this one.
So it wasn't like this was like a tent pole, like, all right, a big summer movie this year. It's a story about Whoopi Goldberg as a nun.
For what this movie was made for, it's one of the most successful movies of all time. They actually, the budget they didn't release, but they say it's about $6 million, and it made $231 million.
Gosh.
I believe it. He says,
Well,
it's a low budget movie.
It's basically Whoopi Goldberg riffing the whole time.
Yeah. But and she was in a lot of those really.
It's edited really tightly, though. I mean, it works. Yeah.
And Whoopi Goldberg, remember, she had a movie career late '80s, especially Jumping
Early
Jack
90s,
Flash in early '90s.
Ghost.
Yeah, well, Ghost was like
Second
this
Ghost
huge,
reference of the show.
We'll call this the Ghost Show. But Sister Act is where she truly shined, and the music was incredible. For me, that's probably the first time I heard those soul songs, and I was totally sold.
What do you think of Sister Act 2 Back in the Habit?
I liked it. I really did like
Jennifer
it.
Love Hewitt was in it.
Yeah, and Lauryn Hill from the Fugees.
Could you make a movie like that nowadays?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
But except they are.
No.
Yep. There will be a remake on Disney Plus.
Oh. Okay.
So it will be kind of low budget.
It's like one of those Netflix streaming straight to
So
streaming.
just like before.
They also have the Broadway musical of Sister Act.
They do. It became a musical.
And Whoopi Goldberg played Mother Superior in that one for like a brief run.
That is funny.
But this is such a fun movie. This is one I kind of want to show my daughters just to kind of
that's a fun
sit
choice.
back and enjoy yourself.
I probably should
It's a
show my
harmless
kids
movie.
this one. Yeah.
There's a little bit of maybe not super great things like content wise at the beginning.
I mean, she's not
There's
a
murder
nun.
and whatnot. Yeah.
But at the same time, kids got to learn about murder.
But this this doesn't feel like a summer blockbuster.
Hashtag Joel parenting.
Yeah. This doesn't feel like a summer blockbuster whatsoever, but it made so much money.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
My choice was actually from '94, and it is The Crow.
Summer movie?
It's a summer
This
movie.
was in October?
Came out in May of 1994.
This whole movie's like All Hallows
Did
Eve.
it make money, though?
Yeah, actually. So it budget was $23 million. It made $50 million. So it doubled its budget.
Okay.
Not exactly a runaway.
Yeah, no, it's not a runaway hit, but this is one where it was kind of propped up. And I feel bad saying this, but it was, I think a lot of the success came from the fact that it was kind of a sad story because the main actor, Brandon Lee, died during the filming of it. And then they had to digitally recreate his face and have a body double in like a couple other scenes to kind of finish out the movie.
And there was legend that they show the gunshot in the movie.
They show the scene.
They're supposed to have the blanks, but you see him die. But so people went to see this movie.
Yeah, it was kind of a dark twist there. Because it was a blank that misfired that ended up killing him during a certain scene. So this movie is one that
Never did see this.
By the way, this is directed by Alex Proyas, who did I, Robot and Jacob's favorite, Gods of Egypt.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go watch The Crow.
So the weird thing about this movie, and the reason I bring it up, is because I was kind of obsessed with this movie, even though I hadn't seen it.
Did you do like makeup and then the eyeliner?
I did the makeup.
You did for like
I did
unironically?
Well, I mean, for fun. Like we'd be dressing up, and me and my brothers would like
Wait. So you'd get crow makeup and do scenes from The Fugitive.
Yes, exactly. We
fun.
We would put makeup on our faces and then ride around on our bikes and like try to scare people, I guess is what we were doing.
Beautiful people.
That was later.
Yeah.
But this movie also, I had the poster. I think I got the poster in like a bargain bin or something like that. And I love the iconic like black with the white in the middle and him standing in the middle of it. And then someone told me the story and I was like, that sounds so fascinating. But it's dark and rainy and gothic-y. When I saw the movie, it was actually a complete letdown for me, to be honest.
Was it?
Well, yeah, because the movie...
Because the style is cool.
Well, I love the idea of like this guy being brought back from the dead in order to avenge his murder and his wife's
girlfriend's
girlfriend. And then he can't die as long as the crow is alive. And I just thought the concept is really cool.
Graphic novel, yeah.
But yeah, it's dark and gothic-y and rainy and techno-y. I mean, how is this supposed to be a summer hit? That wouldn't catch on for at least 5 years after this movie.
Yeah.
Jacob? There's my Matrix reference.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So there you go. But yeah, The Crow. It was a summer movie, apparently.
Apparently, jeez.
All right, let's go to the other end of this for the next category. And what is the movie that was the most appropriate for the summer season?
We haven't matched on a single one of these so far.
Not yet. But Kent, Jacob, I want you each to put your hand over your heart. Because I'm going to
cold
talk...
chest cavity?
Oh, I know what's happening now.
Independence Day.
I know what's happening.
No.
Independence Day, 1996, by Roland Emmerich, who did Stargate, Godzilla, and The Patriot. Starring Will Smith, Bill Pullman, Jeff Goldblum, Mary McDonnell, Judd Hirsch, Margaret Collin, Randy Quaid, Robert Loggia, James Reborn, Harvey Feinstein, Vivica A. Fox, and Harry Connick Jr. Guys, if you rearrange the letters of those actors' names,
This is Pull America.
He's doing Joel
you
research.
Get, you get the preamble of the Constitution of the United States of America.
What are you, Nicolas Cage?
This budget of $75 million made $817 million. It came out on July 2nd. It's about Independence Day. It's about freedom. It's about America. It has everything a summer blockbuster should have: explosions, jet fighters, heroes, villains, Utah, barbecues. These
Awesome
are all
sequel,
important
too.
things. Oh god, the sequel is so bad. But I honestly, what I thought of most appropriate for the season, for the summer blockbuster season, Independence Day is one of those iconic blockbusters of the time.
It's good you bring up a Will Smith movie because he was Mr. Summer for a
for a
really
while.
long
Yeah,
time.
Men in Black, Independence Day,
Bad
what else?
Boys.
Bad Boys.
Yeah.
But this is one that I just think of summertime, and I remember being excited to see this movie and then seeing it and really enjoying it and becoming a little more American after watching it.
Yeah, I watched it twice and then I realized I didn't like it anymore.
But
It's a Will Smith effect.
This totally feels like a summer blockbuster movie to me.
Your heart grew cold, I think.
Honestly.
Yeah, I'm go for it, Kent.
So my most appropriate for the summer season really is more thematic rather than the time it took place, because this is all about summer and what summer means to any
You
child.
can't do 500 days of
It's
summer.
500 Days of Summer.
No, it's not.
It's not 500 Days of Summer, because I'm not going to do a cult classic in this list. I'm going for E.T. 1982.
Oh, yeah.
And what E.T. is it is an adventure about for and about children.
Yeah.
Like, even this movie was shot from the eye level of a child just to connect with Elliot and E.T. Like, be on their level. And summer doesn't mean anything anymore. Like, yeah, there's a summer movie season, but we're adults. We have to go to work.
Do we?
We should go to work.
Crap! I better go in tomorrow.
Yeah.
But when you're a kid and school ends and you realize you have about 2.5 to 3 months of just exploring, of
There's
just,
104 days of summer vacation.
yeah, oh wow, just playing night games, going and finding aliens and helping them get back to their planet.
It's all part of the summer vacation.
It's all part of that, and this movie really encapsulates that. I'm not the biggest fan of E.T. personally. By the way, made for $10 million. $10 million.
That was made for
Wow.
$10 million.
made $792 million. One of the most successful movies of all time.
It's true. $10 million. That's
10 million.
it?
Yeah. And there's a lot going there, but it's a lot of practical effects.
Practical, yeah, but I mean, it's puppetry. It's set design. That's
Yeah.
a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. But this movie is all about it's for the children, and for me, summer is about the adventures you have and the imagination you had as a child.
Then why wouldn't give it to Goonies?
Well, I almost did, but it only made $60 million. And
Really?
so I feel like that is more endearing favorite rather than a blockbuster.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
It's
Yeah.
a good shelf life then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. 60 million? Mm-hmm. All right, our next category then is the blockbuster with brains. So we can put that in quotes. Tell us what that means, Kent.
Brains.
Joel is going to know.
It requires zombies.
It's a thinking
No,
man.
it's zombies. It's about zombies.
Yeah, zombies.
It's zombies. World War Z.
Okay, that wins.
Well,
C plus.
so this C plus, C minus. I think I hated that movie.
C plus for me.
So this movie I'm about to choose was made for $160 million. It made $828 million. It's an original IP, one of the most original movies of the past
Original
20
IP, you gotta
years.
explain
I
that for the
know
audience.
who the director is here.
Intellectual property, meaning that it's an original concept. At least it's not a sequel,
Or
an
a
adaptation,
reboot.
or
Yeah.
anything. It is Inception. Came out in 2010.
How did I know that Christopher Nolan was going to be brought up at least
It had
once?
to.
I knew it was him. As
Why
soon
do you
as-
think I threw in this category,
brains,
blockbuster
yeah.
with brains?
Yeah, you probably had that
Because
in mind.
brains makes it feel bigger, more important. Because this is at the point of Nolan's career, and remember, this is 9 years ago at this point, where he got a blank check after Dark Knight.
That's
Like,
true.
Even after
And this-
Batman Begins, Warner Brothers said, "Hey, Prestige, that's a weird idea," and he's like, "Cool, can I make it?" Yeah, and then he made that. Then Dark Knight, and they said, "Here's money. Here's a check. Make whatever you can." He said, "I've got an idea or two."
And he wrote this one too.
Yeah. Any movie with this synopsis, a contemporary science fiction action thriller set within the architecture of the mind, shouldn't be coming out during summer.
Yeah, this is a cerebral movie.
Really cerebral. And I'm going to follow some Joel research here. You ready?
Okay.
Dom, Robert, Eames, Arthur, Mal, and Saito spells dreams. That is those are the characters in the movie. And Peter, Ariadne, and Yusuf, dreams pay. Dreams pay. He named these characters.
That's cool.
And
Yeah.
just because that's what the Inception
Actually,
guys do.
mal. They talk about that how mal in Spanish means bad.
Yeah,
it's kind of
so it's
subtle
very
hints.
on the nose, but it works. And Marianne Cotillard in that role is
The role
amazing.
is mal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So of course I didn't choose Inception because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And as far as the summer goes, that ruled that summer. And I actually didn't even expect it to be all that good, except for the trailer was pretty cool.
Well, I remember watching the trailer and being like, I have no idea what this movie's about.
Yeah, it made no sense. It just looked like crazy stuff. And then there's people like running in a hotel hall.
Yeah. And water's coming in from the sides and everything.
Yeah.
So Joel, what'd you choose?
I chose Shrek the Third.
Nice choice.
No, I chose Inception.
Finally a
I
joke
chose
choice.
Inception.
Hey, finger boop. Boop.
Yes. When it said Blockbuster with brains, I kind of went, oh, come on, Kent. You know it's Inception. We're both going to pick Inception because summer Blockbuster, for the most part, is a time to turn off your brain and just enjoy loud explosions.
Thanks a lot, Christopher Nolan, making me think.
But this is definitely a movie that you have to watch twice to truly appreciate. Because the first time you're just trying to figure out what is going on, like the whole time dilation and dream within a dream.
Yes.
Now, granted, there are flaws in this movie.
What?
I think there are flaws in this movie. Huh? Some things that don't quite make sense. But
You
at
need
the
to
same
watch it
time,
3 times.
I just didn't get it.
But this is one that I would be happy to own. Like I don't
How do
buy.
you not own this?
I don't know if you remember this, Kent.
Yeah, I know. I had to let you borrow it once.
No, I don't know if you remember this, but I was. I think I texted you, and I was like, "Hey, I found Inception in the $5 bin at Walmart," and you're like, "You should get it." And I wrote back, "Nah," and then you wrote back, "You're a jerk."
I just said you're a jerk.
Something like that. You got legitimately mad at me, and I was like, "Oh, that was maybe too far." But I kind of
personally, I felt attacked.
I kind of not regret not picking up because I feel like this is one that I would like to own because of the level of intrigue it has in it, and like the amount of work that was made into both writing it and producing it.
Yeah.
And so I do enjoy this movie. It's one I would own, and I don't buy that many movies anymore.
Good choices. Or choice. All right. Which is the blockbuster movie that your parents did not want you to see?
I didn't choose.
But you saw anyway, I assume.
Yeah. Well, there's one that I actually was going to pick, but then I realized it didn't work out because my parents loved Back to the Future when it came out in 85. I was around 5 years old.
Yeah.
And they kept taking people to go see it. And then but I was like, well, we want to see it. And they were like, no, they wouldn't let us see it. But I didn't choose that one because I ended up seeing it in theaters. I actually chose Mortal Kombat, 1995.
Yeah.
Now, this is one that maybe my parents didn't care as much, but I remember very specifically going to my friend's house and we were getting ready to go see Mortal Kombat. And his mom says, "What movie is that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's Mortal Kombat." She's like, "Isn't that the video game one?" And they start having this whole very awkward discussion with me sitting in the room, like waiting, my coat in hand. Like, well, I guess it's summer. I didn't have my coat, but like just waiting there.
The bus is about to leave.
And I'm like, we gotta go. The movie's gonna show. But then his mom, he's having this whole back and forth with his mom, and then his mom finally dropped the, "Well, you do what you want.
Oh.
I know you'll make the right decision."
No, mom guilt.
And he didn't go see it.
And then you didn't see it.
I had to go with other people.
Oh, you still saw it.
I went to go see it with other people. And this movie, as violent and controversial as the video game was, this movie was not violent.
It's very mild.
It's very mild.
And the reason this movie is one of the best video game movies is because it came hot off the heels of Street Fighter, which was terrible. A bad movie.
This one, by the way, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, who did Event Horizon, Resident Evil, and Alien vs. Predator.
Yep.
And
sounds about right.
Budget of $18 million, and it made $122 million. So it did well.
Yeah.
And I think
it had the brand recognition.
But I watched the movie. I bought the soundtrack.
The theme song. Oh my gosh.
Mortal Kombat. But this is one my parents, probably a lot of parents, didn't want their kids to go see. But if they only knew how tame it was, I think they would have been okay with it.
That's such a better choice than mine because I'm almost embarrassed about mine. I did not see this in the theater, but I grew up with 3 sisters. And the movie my parents didn't want any of us to see, but my sisters made me watch eventually, was Dirty Dancing. Came out in 1987. I probably saw it in probably 1990 or 91. It was made for $6 million. It made $214 million.
Wow.
Isn't that insane?
And it's a terrible movie.
It's not good at all.
No, it's really not.
But I was...
Great soundtrack. Fantastic soundtrack.
Yeah. Because I was a curious child, because your parents say no one in this house can watch Dirty Dancing. And I had 2 sisters, they were like 2 and 4 years older than me, that of course were going to watch this movie, or were probably going to their friend's house at sleepovers and watching this, and girls just want to have fun. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I kind of need to see what that movie is since my parents won't allow me to watch it. And so, yeah, when I was about 10, I watched it and I was like, oh, that was lame. It's just like they were dancing really close. Like, I'll never get that close with a girl. And it's true.
It'll come someday.
Yeah, someday?
Yeah, someday.
Yeah, it's just getting older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hang on, buddy.
But no one
You'll
puts,
dance
no
the
one
night
puts
away.
Kent in the corner.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dirty Dancing, kind of silly, and it probably is inappropriate. I think it deals with a lot of adult issues.
There's a lot
in that
of
movie.
stuff in there. Well, it's like Grease.
Yeah.
Grease is one of those movies that I watched all the time as a kid. And then as I grew up, I'm like, wow, there's some stuff in here.
Yeah,
that I didn't notice
But when you're a
before.
kid, you never really catch on to it because you're looking for jokes.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
Not a lot of jokes in Dirty Dancing.
No.
Our next category is the most disappointing sequel.
In 2003, I saw one of my top 10 favorite superhero movies,
Hulk.
X2,
Oh.
X-Men United. And I was so excited about the Dark Phoenix saga
And
playing
you saw
out.
X-Men First Class.
Nice. No. And I saw in 2006, X-Men The Last Stand.
Yeah.
And I was so broken about it. Like it was kind of destroying.
It
Because
was.
they ruined everything. They kill spoiler alert, they kill Cyclops in the first 5
2006.
minutes. Yeah. And they kill Professor X. They ruin Magneto. They ruin the Dark Phoenix. Wolverine is a pansy. Oh no.
Oh, banned from Twitter.
What have you done?
This is kind of what made me take notice because remember, at this point, you had Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, which was much better than the first. You had X2, which is better than the first. And honestly, there were only a few duds like Daredevil that had come out and maybe a bad Punisher movie. But I'm like, no, this is a good thing. I like this superhero genre.
Yeah.
It's really cool. There's nothing there. And there were many plots. There's the Cure storyline, the Phoenix
so many.
storyline, which was ruined. They ruined Juggernaut. They ruined just everything. So they made this for $210 million, and it made $459 million.
I remember sitting with my wife watching that movie, and we like looking at each other while it was going on. And when it ended, it was like yelling at the movie, like
Yeah.
at the screen, like, "Come on, seriously!"
That's it.
Like that's what you give me?
And I remember being caught up in it and kind of enjoying it for a while there. Like there was a couple parts where I'm like, oh, cool. And then I walked out and I remember just feeling like, I really didn't like that they killed off Scott. And I don't like that they killed off Patrick.
But then he comes back through a different guy.
Moira.
It's the weirdest thing. This killed the X-Men
Yeah.
franchise until First Class 5 years later somehow came back, and the only reason they made First Class was to keep the rights. But
Yeah.
somehow First Class, they salvaged what they had because
it's an
they ruined
excellent movie.
everything. Yeah. So yeah, Joel, what was your most disappointing
Yeah,
sequel?
let's hear it.
We have talked about this one fairly recently. I chose a 2013 sequel, and I have to admit, I thought the first movie was fantastic. The second one was okay, and this one just bombed. It's Iron Man 3.
Yep.
Oh.
So Iron Man 3, directed by Shane Black, who did the Nice Guys, Predator, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. This had a budget of $200 million. It made $1.2 billion.
Hold on.
Billion.
Yeah.
This is in the top 10 highest grossing Marvel movies of all time. Like the Iron Man 3, which
This was
I
hot
thought
off the heels of Avengers, by the way,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
why it made so much money.
Well, that's just it. But this was supposed to be like it's weird because it's supposed to be like this wrap up trilogy of Iron Man's story, but then he comes back in the very next movie. I didn't like any of the motivations of the characters. I thought they kind of just ruined the story of Iron Man that was so cool initially. But I think I'm also just annoyed that it is so high grossing and that it made so much money, and yet it's completely ridiculous and discarded by almost the entire rest of the franchise. I do feel like this should be the lowest Marvel movie, but you guys bumped it up to number
Second lowest.
Yeah.
Because Iron Man 2
just worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, which is the blockbuster movie that had the most mind-blowing special effects? Which one really nailed the effects?
Well, this one was also hard because like I already used Terminator 2, which could have been used again. There was a bunch that I could have used, but I decided to put Jurassic Park here.
Okay.
And it's because I felt like Jurassic Park made me believe that dinosaurs could exist. It's an amazing score on the nose flute that Kent's playing over there.
I love the nose flute. It's my second favorite instrument.
I got a runny nose now.
But this movie was one where it was just a great blend of both CGI, and this is one of the first major uses of CGI in a movie. But you get CGI plus practical effects with puppets, and they blended together so well that it's hard, at least at the time, it was hard to tell when it was a puppet and when it was real life.
Yeah.
Just the combination of those two things together, I think, did so well. And then they kind of botched it with the other movies where they relied so much more on CGI that it didn't feel as threatening or as real. Like that part when the T-Rex is smashing down into the skylight on the kids, and you can see the physical resistance the kids are having to push against this giant beast. It's terrifying.
That entire scene is mastercraft.
It really is.
Like when, the lawyer's in the bathroom and people run away. You have Jeff Goldblum running with the flare and the T-Rex turns around. It is with them.
Yes.
There is no sense of like disbelief there.
Well, and I remember this is one of the movies I love watching behind the scenes. Like I always liked watching like the making ofs, but I remember specifically watching the making of for this movie to be like, how is that possible? And watching how they made like the dinosaurs run around him and match their eye lines, and how the T-Rex smashed in the side of the car and they added a dent.
Yeah.
Like all those magical things that happen to come with this. By the way, Jurassic Park, $63 million budget, made $1 billion, and rightly so.
Wow.
$63 million, and they did all that.
So for visual effects, I'm going to go with one that you've already mentioned. It's Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, okay. Good choice.
Yeah, so George Miller directed this one. He gloated that 90% of the movie was shot with practical
I was
effects.
just gonna say, wasn't that like all practical? Yeah.
Except for obviously there was like windstorms.
A
and there
huge
was
sandstorm.
Yeah, and there was a lot of like background effects. But when you watch this movie, like, and this is why it succeeds, it wasn't actually really all that controlled. These were stunt guys doing their thing. These were real explosions. These were real motorcycles being torn up by something behind them. Guys with real flaming electric guitars.
The Doofenshmirtz, what do we call them?
Doofenshmirtz, yeah.
It's like something like that. But I'm always impressed, and it's sad that we're impressed by practical effects now because CGI is so heavily relied on.
Yes.
It's like movies used to be all practical, and now it's all CGI. And so when you see something practical like that, your brain, there is a difference where your brain's like, that is real, and that is impressive.
Yeah. I urge anyone here just to go to YouTube and look at Mad Max pre-CG, and you're going to just be blown away by how much of the movie is just there.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they may have added a new color grade or whatnot
They
to
put
the
an
final
explosion
movie.
in the background so that
Yeah, but a lot of the explosions were even real.
Yeah, but I mean, like once they put actors in danger, they're
Yes.
like adding that in after because, yeah.
Just so amazing. And this one actually didn't win Best Visual Effects at the Oscars.
What did
which
it lose to?
Is crazy.
Do you know what it lost to?
I think a Tyler Perry movie of some sort.
Yeah.
God.
I mean, which actually made sense.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Well
It
earned.
was Medea Goes to Jail, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's 2015. Those
when
Oscars.
she pulls those bars apart and gets out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a Muppet caper.
Keep in mind, like, we kind of made fun of this movie, how it was like one long car chase, like before and after we saw this. And that's really where the action is. This is one long action scene. And it keeps your attention the entire time. It is a work of art.
Yeah, I am looking that up right now because I want to know what it lost to. Oh, it lost to Ex Machina.
Did it really?
Yeah, I'm not mad.
I'm a little bit mad because Ex Machina was subtle and awesome. Ava was incredible.
Like I could have been mad at like the other nominees that year were The Martian, The Revenant, and Star Wars: The Force Awakens. And it would have been any of those, I would have been a little more mad. But Ex Machina, I'm like,
I don't know, that scene in The Revenant, they pulled that off pretty well.
that is pretty cool.
That bear,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that bear.
that bear.
That bear. All right, next category. Of all the blockbuster movies, which one had the scariest creature, monster, beast, whatever?
Are we going to agree on this one, Kent?
Let us play the nose flute.
Ba-dum, ba-dum,
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, same composer, different score.
Bruce the freaking shark.
Yes.
Has become the scariest monster of all cinematic history.
The reason that Jaws, Bruce is they called the shark, but the reason that Jaws is so terrifying because it feels so real. Like
it was real.
Yes, it's a giant shark, but it's not like the Meg where it's like impossibly big.
Yes.
This looked like a real shark. Well, as real as it could look in 90s puppetry.
Which it was a broke down shark. It didn't even really work.
Yeah.
But what they did by not showing and then only showing a little bit, in fact, they had 3 actual Bruces, and one was like from the right side, one was from the left side, and then one was just the full shark. All of them like sunk to the bottom of the tank they were
kept
using.
breaking and
They each cost $250,000.
they kept getting waterlogged.
Yeah, and so this movie is made for $7 million, made $470 million. This is the first actual blockbuster. This one is the one that made people take notice and really changed summer and beaches and the way people
movie?
viewed sharks. Yeah, beaches.
Did you ever
and
know
kids' personal
that
fears?
you're my hero?
This, I would say mine and millions of people. that sharks have become the thing to fear. They're
Well,
greater than us on the food chain.
And I think marine biologists actually hate this movie because it makes sharks so feared that people want to just kill them and get them away from everything. And actually, sharks, for the most part, don't kill humans. But
they
this
do.
movie makes you believe that they do all the time.
Yeah.
I saw a headline like 2 days ago. Somebody swimming off Maui got killed by a shark.
What? Excuse me?
Yeah.
I go to
In the
Bear
water.
Lake and I'm worried Jaws is going to be there.
I've done that like on a platform in Bear Lake, and I had to swim to it, and suddenly I got this image in my mind of a shark being in the 2 feet of water I was in, and I had to run to the thing. Oh,
Fun fact about this one. So John Williams, was this the first time he'd worked with Spielberg? Yeah, probably. And so Spielberg said, hey, well, what do you have for the score? And he said, okay, here's what I have. And he did that tone that we did. Spielberg laughed and said, that's funny, John, but really, like, what did you have in mind for the theme of Jaws? And he later said that the movie would not have been half as successful without that score. And think about it. If you were just swimming around, and even in Bear Lake, even in a freshwater lake,
Or a pool
but you
full of
think
chlorine.
of that theme, immediate fear. It's like Pavlov's shark.
what I've always wanted to do, like we did those theme dates back in the day. We tried to do that, and what we always wanted to do, but we never got, was to rent out a pool, like Surf and Swim in Layton or something, and play Jaws on the wall.
Perfect.
While we were sitting in tubes on the water.
It's funny you say that because there was that little cage where the waves come out. I always thought sharks were behind there waiting to get me.
Yeah, but instead it's just
This was
a
last
wave
week.
machine that could suck you in and kill you.
Yeah, just that. Just actual threat.
Next category is the least favorite blockbuster of all time.
Once again, this was kind of hard to pick from, although there weren't that many that I absolutely disliked. Like I wanted to choose the Transformers franchise because they've had so many summer hits, quote unquote.
Oh, hits made $1 billion. Almost each one.
But I've only really seen the first one and The Last Night. And
You saw The Last Night?
I had to for ClearPlay. They asked me to review it, but I absolutely hated it. So I wanted to put that, but I was like, I just kind of hate that out of reputation and the sample I've had.
Fair.
But the one that I chose that I absolutely despise and hope to never have to watch again is The Last Airbender. 2010.
It really is a bad movie.
So, and I saw...
Is there nothing redeeming here?
No.
Did it make its money?
Oh, it did. That's the problem. So it budget of 150 million, it made 319 million. So it turned a profit.
Okay.
But this is largely seen as a flop because it took the wondrous joy that is Avatar: The Last Airbender, the TV series, the Nickelodeon TV series, which is surprisingly good for children and adults. We've talked about this on Baconsale before.
How do you ruin that idea? How?
And I actually talked about, if I had a pitch meeting of M. Night Shyamalan, it went something like, hey, you know that thing everybody loves? Let's suck all the fun out of it and kind of mess with the main elements, and then we'll do it.
Yeah.
Because they messed with the formula. They took out all the fun that is in the series. And I saw this after, like this came out in 2010. I didn't watch the series until around that time. And then I watched this movie. And I was so bugged at M. Night Shyamalan for what he had done.
You're being a little bit harsh because this is only the first of many reported movies, and it had potential for a sequel. Or the third movie. No,
It's so bad. It's so bad. And if you feel inclined to watch this movie, go watch the series instead. You'll be much happier.
So much happier.
Which you can watch that one with your kids, and everyone is enjoying it together.
I avoided the series because of this movie.
Yeah?
And then when I fortunately watched it, I loved it. I love it.
The series.
Yes.
Not the movie.
Not the movie.
Yeah. Kent?
So it's funny you bring up Transformers because mine is the first sequel to Transformers. It's Transformers Revenge of the Fallen in 2009.
Still haven't seen that one.
But
I agree with your choice.
It is the worst one. This was right when I started to think that I was going to be involved in movies more than just a casual fan. So I started Showtime Showdown in 2009.
Showtime Showdown.
It was a podcast at the time with my friend Scott, and
You did another podcast, Scott.
Sorry, I actually have two podcasts. Joel. I don't know if you knew this.
What? So you're not with Scott anymore?
Yeah, he's long gone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
He's still
Did he
alive.
die in the beginning of X-Men 3?
Yeah, he did. Scott. So came out 2009, and I was really excited about talking about movies and hopefully that 30 people would listen. Like, honestly, if we got 30 listens on a Showtime Showdown episode.
You got 30 listens?
Yeah. We did a G.I.
only have
Joe
one still.
Rise of the Cobra
I think
episode,
two, but-
and we got 55 listens. I was like, we have made it. We were using SingStar microphones from the PlayStation 2 that had USB connections.
Oh, wow.
And we used plastic cups, and we just burrowed holes in them and taped them to the counter.
You
And
mean like we do in the
To
Bacon
put the
Cave?
microphone in them, or just
Yeah,
for
to put, the
fun?
to put the microphone in them.
Just for fun.
That was their podcast, is burring holes in
It was so
cups.
funny. I go back and I still have copies of those shows, and I listen to me, and I was so boring. I was half his opinion.
You should
Maybe-
release those on Patreon.
No, they're so embarrassing to listen to. Like
You should release those
It's like
on Patreon.
NPR.
You should
I'm
listen
like,
to those on
I'm like, no,
Patreon.
that's pretty crazy. That sounds really fun. I sound like every other podcast today, where
Look
you
for
have to
those-
think and hem and haw a little
Look for
bit.
those episodes on patreon.com.
Oh no,
/Baconsale.
I'm too embarrassed. I guess I probably will.
Release the Kent cut.
And I'm not even saying like Transformers in 2007 was a fine movie. In fact, I was surprised by how much I liked it. And I wasn't expecting much for the sequel, but whoo boy, it has Transformer gods. Sam Witwicky dies. He goes to robot heaven. His mom gets high in this movie. There's Robot Pompoko at one point.
Robot Pompoko. That's what we're calling that now.
Pompoko? What is that?
You know what it is.
You're calling it Pompoko?
Yeah, you know what
Remember
I'm
the
talking about.
Miyazaki movie with the shape shifting raccoons?
I do.
There's a
Pompoko.
giant robot with swinging Pompokos.
I want to family friendly that, but I don't think people are going to get the reference.
I mean, there's Mudflap and Skids, the two racist robots. Megan Fox is in here, and she is just objectified more than ever. And I do like Megan Fox a lot, but what Michael,
you do
whatever
like
his name, Michael
objectifying
Bay
Megan
does.
Fox too, yeah.
In the first movie,
But not the second one.
the second one, it feels like, okay, we get it. Like, you're just being weird now, Michael Bay. But this movie is an absolute disaster, even though it made 4 times its budget. It was made for $200 million, and it made $836 million.
I'm glad you brought this up though. Wait, how much did it make?
$836 million.
Gosh. I'm glad you brought this up though, because I do feel like Michael Bay needs to be brought up. If we're talking summer blockbusters, James Cameron and Michael Bay should
Yes.
be brought up at least once.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you for falling on that sword.
You're welcome. Yeah. So Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, even with the terrible sequels, and they've all been so bad.
Yeah.
This is the worst for me.
I actually tried to. I watched the first one and was like, oh, this is surprisingly not terrible.
It's comedic and-
yeah.
yeah.
Like, it actually has a couple moments. And I tried to watch another one. I am so rarely do I not complete a movie I've begun. I'm like 15, 20 minutes in. I'm like, I just can't
Tagging
take
out.
it. Like,
Yeah.
please make it stop.
See, I prefer the summer blockbuster of Transformers the movie back in like 1986 or whenever
Yeah.
that came out.
You've got the touch. You got the power.
You know, I don't know who it is that's watching these movies because I don't know anyone who's like, oh yeah, I love going to Transformers movies.
But
wanted
it
that
was
too.
an event. You know, sometimes blockbusters are the only thing to see during the month, and people need escapism. That's why summer blockbusters exist, I believe.
You want to escape summer.
Yeah, or just get out of the sun, maybe. And it's like, guys, you're like, hey, did you see the new movie? Even though you forget about it the next day, it's still something
Yeah.
to do for $10. So Transformers makes $836 million.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've done the least favorite. Now, gentlemen, it's time for the very last category, the greatest of all time.
Greatest blockbuster of all time.
What is your greatest blockbuster? Are you going to agree on this?
I'm going to go first. No, we're not, because
not.
we've already chosen each other's movies.
Yeah. I was
So-
going to say, I'm kind of guessing what yours is.
I know what yours is. And yours is a very good and safe answer, and mine
Should I-
is a very good and safe
All right, so
answer.
Joel will say Kent's, and Kent, you can say Joel's.
All right. What did I choose?
I think you chose Jurassic Park.
And you chose Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we right?
Yeah, we're right.
Finger boop. Finger boop.
Is that a finger boop? We didn't match.
No, but we each chose
Yeah.
what the other would love
Well-
and chooses the greatest.
And in fairness, I chose the original Star Wars trilogy.
Oh,
If I
cheat.
if I had to pick one, it would obviously be Star Wars, 1977, because that one it was a budget of $11 million and it made $775 million, which is funny because then if you look at the other sequels, they didn't make quite as much, even though they had higher budgets. Like Empire Strikes Back, he had $18 million budget, it only made $530 million. And
What a
then-
letdown, am I right?
Yeah,
the Return of the
geez.
Jedi, it was a 42 million and it only made 500 million. So none of them quite retained that original. So if I had to pick one,
Embarrassing.
it would be the original Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I feel like Jaws maybe have set up the summer blockbuster, but Star Wars 2 years later made it an event where it was like, you need to see this movie or you're going to miss out.
Yeah.
And you need to see it in theaters.
It changed everything.
So, I mean, obviously there's not much that can be more said about Star Wars, but seeing as how it was this hokey sci-fi movie that like Alec Guinness didn't quite understand. He
Yeah.
was like, yeah, whatever, let's just
be
do
in
this
your movie, fine.
sure. And like even the people producing the movie didn't quite understand what's going on. But then you get George Lucas, who's a great idea man. And then he directed that first one, didn't he? Yeah, he did.
He did?
He directed the first one. Irvin
Are
Kershner
you
directed.
sure?
Yeah, George Lucas directed the first. Irvin Kershner directed the second. Richard Marquand directed the third. But here's the thing about Star Wars movies, is that when you get the they were usually released in May. That's when like the original trilogy and all the prequels were released in May. And then with the sequel series, they started releasing them in December.
Yes.
I think that's what killed it. Right then.
That's what it was?
That's
the
what it killed
holiday
it.
season killed Star Wars.
The magic was the Star Wars
That's
summer.
true. Holiday did kill Star Wars because the holiday special really started off on the wrong foot.
Oh, man, it's true. It's true. So, yeah, Star Wars is my pick.
Yeah, a great pick. So for me, Jurassic Park it's not even in my top 20 favorite movies of all time, but this is one of the most impactful movies I've ever
Jurassic
seen.
Park is not your top 20?
I know, isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, he's got all his hipster picks.
I've gone a little dark.
Apparently.
But Jurassic Park, this is one.
There's 10 Christopher Nolans in there.
What's darker than a Dilophosaurus ripping apart Newman in a Jeep?
I saw this movie probably 7 times in the theater. I don't even know where I got the money, but somehow I found it in the couch or something. But
Back then, movies cost a nickel.
Yeah, it's a nickel. But this one, everything, the score, these, like you said, CG and the practical effects mixed, the acting was in. And honestly, this is all ages entertainment. And a lot of these blockbusters are, with some exceptions.
All ages.
Yes.
This is more like phase 2 horror movie training, I think, when it's like there's some really genuinely
That's
straight
true.
parts in there.
Well, yes.
If you're over the age of, if you're a tween or above, I think it's perfectly fine to
But
watch.
I feel like kids should even know about monster movies in a way that this movie shows, like dinosaurs. You learn about dinosaurs from a very young age, and I was obsessed.
Historically inaccurate dinosaurs.
But I was obsessed.
They have feathers.
No. They say that in the movie. I was obsessed with dinosaurs, and I played with dinosaur toys all the time. And when I saw this, I started drawing dinosaurs every single day. This crafted my young, geeky life. And then sequels came out, and that's another story.
Prequels and the sequels.
Prequels and sequels. Oh my gosh. No, not Star Wars, Jurassic Park.
Oh, that's right.
I was like, there's a prequel for
Well, technically,
I mean, Jurassic World's the only one you like better than the original, right?
Jake.
That's what you were telling me earlier.
Fallen Kingdom, maybe.
oh god, it's written in stone now.
No. But I find this movie to be absolute magic. I
really
could not
good.
believe what I was seeing
It's
on
really good.
screen.
It didn't launch an entire amazing franchise, but
That was then ruined. Oh wait, it did.
yeah, both
of these movies
kind of had
did.
that, didn't they? But at least we had
Yes.
3 strong ones in Star Wars. But yeah, I think those are both good choices for blockbusters, because you think about summer, those are definitely movies that come to mind, and they do feel kind of like the primary answers. Maybe it's a little obvious,
Yeah.
but it's the right obvious answer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still a
maybe
good conversation, though.
If we were to do another category show like this, maybe we go a little more hipster next time.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, you are.
Hipster summer blockbusters.
I think we need to do a flops show. In fact, Jake and I were talking
Summer
about this
flops.
the other day.
That could be a
Summer
fun one.
flops.
Yeah, it would be.
I'll
a
add
fun
it
one.
to the list right now. No, I'll wait till after we're done recording.
You got excited.
We have done it all. 16 categories, and we have gone through. Man, that is a lot of movies, a lot of summer blockbusters, and
There's so many more. Though.
you guys had some cool facts in there too. So I think that was a lot of fun.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jacob.
You bet.
Yeah,
Which
so-
you kind of had to, since we're talking about movies.
Jacob, if
everybody
you had to pick a
knows.
greatest of all time summer blockbuster, which way would you lean?
I have given this no thought.
Joel Twist.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be Independence Day.
Yay!
Greatest of all time.
No, it's personal, not because of
Most America.
It's the movie that I went in thinking, and then I saw that probably 5 times in the theater, and it was just like it was perfect for me at the time. I thought it was so awesome.
When you say the theater, do you just mean your aunt's house because she was the only one that had a TV in the neighborhood?
no,
it was a
at the
crank
theater.
Yeah.
It was a crank theater. Yeah. You had an Amish buggy that powered it. Actually, it was pretty
Wow,
amazing.
they were willing to do that?
Honestly, in a way, it was better than the regular because it was like really cool science how they made electricity with a buggy.
Okay.
All right.
We get it.
All right, before we sign off, I want to give some love to our awesome patrons who are supporting
Gross.
us, starting with...
Wait, how do we do that again?
Look, if
It's like Lambada?
Nope. Keep moving.
it's consensual.
I saw a movie
Wrap
about
it up.
that.
All right. First is our I Am the Listener category. We're going to start with Terry Finley, Go Supernatural, A More Civilized Podcast, Jordan Rexnick, Stephen Ross, and Adrian Gray, the listener emeritus. And from our Bacon Council, thank you guys, Nicole D. Hale, Spencer Myers, The Spirit of 38 podcast, Chris Anderson, Ryan Farron, and Mats Mudro.
Thank you.
Matt's is the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, each and every one of you, for your support. And those of you who are not getting your names read, come on Patreon and support us.
Yeah, join us.
So that we can read your names and give you some cool perks. And we're going to have an event soon with our Baking Council guys where we're going to give them access to what's coming up this rest of the year on Baconsale and give them some creative input as well. Some opportunities there.
Yeah. But if you want to find me, I'm still suspended from Twitter. But you can find me performing with Quick Wits. They perform every Saturday at the Midvale Performing Arts Center. For more details, go to qwcomedy.com or go to the Quick Wits Facebook page.
If you want to find me on Twitter or Instagram, it's at Kenny3DD. If you want to read my movie reviews, at ShowtimeShowdown.com.
That was very fast, Ken.
Yes, Micro Machines.
You can find me on Twitter at Jacob A. Rogers, where I'm just talking to people about Baconsale. And if Twitter suspended me, though, Joel, I mean, it would really only be Baconsale I'd be sad about. You've been a long time.
If a tree fell down in the woods, would anyone?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. And I already mentioned Patreon. Go to patreon.com if you want to support us there. tpublic.com/Baconsale for our merchandise store. And go like and follow us on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Leave us a review on
iTunes.
Oh, yeah, it's been a
iTunes
while.
as well. Yeah.
So until next time, wow, what a podcast. This has been Baconsale.
I've never found you more attractive than I do right now, Joel.
Just Star Wars, pray, reach the earth.
There is only one Joel.
There can be only one. What a Saturday morning, watching people rip out each other's hearts.
Kalima.
We are Legion.
But I do want to see the Matt Williams franchise. Like Shia LaBeouf.
Okay. And I went in like, that was cool.
Bat Dad! I can't just go through puberty.
No. Boo. No. Why does he do villain laughs after dad jokes? I don't understand.
Blah movie, but fun Sega game.
Yeah.
But at the same time, kids got to learn about murder.
Finger boop.
It's like Christopher Nolan making me think.
Waiting there.
The bus is about to leave.
And I'm like, well, you do what you want.
Oh.
I know you'll make the right decision.
No, mom guilt. They were dancing really close. Like, I'll never get that close with a girl.
dirty.
And
It'll come someday.
Yeah, someday?
Yeah, someday.
Yeah, it's just getting older.
Yeah.
You hang on, buddy.
Wolverine is a pansy. Oh no.
Oh, banned from Twitter.
What have you done? I love the nose flute. It's my second favorite instrument.
Let us play the nose flute.
Release the Kent cut.
There's Robot Pompoko at one point.
Robot Pompoko. That's what we're calling that now?
Pompoko? What is that?
You know what it is. There's a giant robot with swinging Pompokos. Gen Z are dumb? I'm dumb. I are dumb.